Nigerians believe that when they are fleeing their country like cowards they are, to be leeches, nuisance, and parasites to other people's countries, and they get there with pompous attitude that we are doctors, we are lawyers, we are entrepreneurs, we are smart, we are rich, we come from the great country, we are giants of Africa. They call that traveling. They say they are traveling. You and I understand what traveling is, right? We understand the definition of traveling. Yeah, it is where you go to another country temporarily for whatever purpose. It could be a vacation. It could be a business conference, a business trip, or whatever the case might be. But the purpose at the end of all of it is to come back home. Yeah, like your home country. But for them, traveling, it is going to America and never come back to Nigeria, or come to South Africa, traveling, but they never go back to Nigeria. And we keep correcting them as South Africans, like, no, you did not travel. Yeah, you may have hopped on an aeroplane or on the back of a crocodile and came to South Africa and traveled. But the soonest you overstayed your welcome, you are no longer a traveler. You are now a criminal. Why? Because the country that you went to has what you call immigration laws. Just like South Africa has immigration laws, the United States have immigration laws, the UK has immigration laws, and everywhere else, including on this very continent called Africa. Africa also, the respective 54 countries have immigration laws, including Nigeria.
There's been these attempts recently to energize Islamophobia in South Africa. We saw it with the appointment of Yusuf Kasim to the Department of Higher Education, and now we've seen it from the leaders of March and March, this attempt to energize and focus particular attention on irregular migration from Muslim countries, to say that we're specifically concerned about a quote-unquote Muslim invasion, that, you know, there will never be Sharia law in South Africa, and we will not allow Muslim countries to have dominance over South Africa. These all rely on very specific assumptions and very specific histories. In South Africa particularly, it relies on the relationship between Christianity and the sense of nation that we have. And this is a relationship that goes back sort of as far as the starting of the contemporary South Africa as we know it today. If we go back to European colonization, the arrival of the colonizer came with Christianity, and of course sought to structure nation within that very specific paradigm of Christian and then British, Dutch, French, whatever it might be, citizen. That was kind of the logic, that a nation was built on Christianity, Christian morals, Christian foundations, and Christianity was a really important mechanism for colonial conquest. This, of course, continues into apartheid, both in the creation of the apartheid state and then in some ways the resistance towards the apartheid state. In many ways in South Africa, Christianity is the norm that we operate from. And so there is, in many ways, I think, this hangover from Christianity of fear towards Islam. And I think you can really see how arbitrary this fear is when you kind of probe the claims and comments made by people who are trying to energize, I think, Islamophobic sentiment. Because if you had to actually ask the same critical questions they do of Islam, or position it under this kind of lens of scrutiny, you'd actually have to be more critical of Christianity than of Islam itself, because the more violent religion in Southern Africa has certainly been Christianity. Christianity was absolutely necessary, like I spoke about a few moments ago, to the complete subversion of local communities in South Africa. It was necessary for colonial conquest. It was necessary for apartheid as a system and structure. It was theologically justified, apartheid, by various Christian churches. It's important to note as well whose side God is positioned to be on, and who's God from which religion, because this is kind of part of the dynamics of who's the insider and who's the outsider. For March and March, we've seen over and over again, specifically Christian leaders are co-opted in Christian language and Christian prayers. And we see now that as they kind of mobilize against irregular migration in South Africa, there's this pushing against of specifically Islam and the Muslim God in some sense. And so this plugs into narratives and discourses that have existed globally far longer than this protest has. It's energizing a kind of underlying bias that exists within Christianity as a religion, conservative forms of Christianity in particular. I think it points us to a few key things. One of the things that it points to us is that we need to be careful and critical of where those fears and biases and prejudices potentially emerge from. What's being energized when someone specifically victimizes Islam as a religion? Generally, in the West and globally, there is Islamophobic sentiment at the moment. That's the kind of discourse, the kind of narrative, the kind of symbols, the kind of language that's being plugged into. Beyond that, there is a need for us to scrutinize more broadly how religion has operated in South Africa to shape what we think is normal, to shape what we think is violent and dangerous, and sometimes for us to pay attention to how the things that are closest to us are potentially more harmful than the things that we're being told are dangerous, volatile, and other. I'm not demonizing Christianity as a religion, nor am I demonizing Islam. I think it needs a more nuanced conversation than what is emerging, I think, from the key figures who are energizing this kind of Islamophobic sentiment. A final note, and this is completely speculative, there's no concrete evidence for it, but when you see an organization like March and March that has had so much scrutiny around its funding and its inspirations and where it's drawing its resources from, when it plugs into so many far-right discourses and far-right populism, for it to now also climb on the bandwagon of specifically Muslim immigration, we need to pay attention to that, because it could be a means of accessing not just ideologically what they're thinking, but who's funding and shaping the organization as we see it unfold.
I thought Nigerians were the...
Watch with me, guys.
The latest statistics as of the 14th of this month, of July, we have just over 28,000 foreigners. Now that includes remand detainees as well as sentence foreigners. And it's about half-half. 14,000 remand detainees and say 14,000 sentence foreigners. Now, I said when I became the minister also that I want to send them back to their country of origin. Now, the good news is that just on Friday, I signed a memorandum of understanding with Namibia for interstate transfer of prisoners, offenders. We will send the Namibians from us to them and South Africans from them to us. This is the second MOU. We also, about in May this month, I also concluded a memorandum of agreement with Botswana. In the pipeline now, the next priority is with Zimbabwe.
No, that's the big fish.
That's a big fish. I mean, if you look at the foreign inmates, Zimbabwe is at the top. There are about, if you take sentence offenders, about 4,500 Zimbabweans. And then you go to Mozambique. There are about 3,500 in our facilities. Then you go to Lesotho. They've just about 2,300. And then it's Malawi. Malawi, they have about 2,000 inmates. So if you can do that, then you can reduce it. But the aim is to get all the SADC countries at least. So many people think, for instance, that Nigeria, we have a lot of Nigerians. We don't. We have less than 300 of them. The latest statistics as of the 14th of this month, of July, we have just over 28,000.
Guys, good evening. I hope everyone is good. So I just came across some interesting news that I think deserve my attention, because you know, most of these news, you guys hear them from me, because those people who are busy with Mabahambe, they won't tell you these things. Well, you will just be surprised one day you want to go and apply for a work visa or a student visa, or you just want to go on vacation in the United States, or an immigrant visa in Durban, and you find that you can't apply for that. You have to book an appointment and go to Johannesburg or Cape Town. So I remember in the heat of Mabahambe, you know, when these marches were at their height, when they were still hot, Bongizo, they were like, you know, I look up so much to Donald Trump, because Donald Trump said something that American first. When they were busy enjoying that small money that Israel had given Miss you know who, sponsor her so that she can come and cause instability in South Africa. Now the United States of America, they dumped them like nothing, because under the United States of America, they are busy losing a war. They're getting their ass kicked out there in Iran. So whatever they were planning to happen here in South Africa, because South Africa took them to the ICJ, has not really worked so much. And the people of Durban, the people from Durban, they were the ones who got that funding. Remember that funding? The people from Durban, they were the ones who were at the forefront of that funding. So they were the ones who were supposed to make sure that whatever the United States of America or Israel wanted to happen here in South Africa was successful. But it was not successful. When I told you that Mabahambe or these much and much things failed, now it's when you see. Now the United States has shifted its visa services there in Durban. Now if the people of Durban want to apply for a visa to go to the United States, they have to go to Johannesburg or Cape Town. Hey, what a slap in the face, man. What a slap in the face. Look at what Mabahambe has done to the innocent people of Durban who were not supporting this nonsense. Now look at these things. Now when you just want to apply for a simple visa, you have to go to Joburg, because we know you will not go to Cape Town, because most of them don't know English. They won't go to Cape Town. Now they will have to come to Johannesburg. And then when they come to Johannesburg, they will find that the queues are so much, the people of Johannesburg will also chase them away and tell them to go back. So right now, the people of Durban can't travel. Right now. And they were busy. We support the United States. We support Donald Trump. Donald Trump just dumped them like they're nothing. South Africans, you people will never wake up. You thought Donald Trump was your father. Donald Trump loves you. Look now.
How did a country whose liberation was supported by the entire African continent become the same place where fellow Africans fear for their lives? Let's do a breakdown. So as you guys know, anti-migrant groups began to rally and said by the 30th of June, every damn immigrant should get out of this country. I have consciously chosen to use the word Afrophobia because it is often African immigrants in this country that are targeted. They're usually Nigerians, Congolese, Zimbabweans, Malawians. Now, according to statistics South Africa, foreign-born residents make up about 4% of the population. In the grand scheme of things, that is not a lot. However, in my opinion, the only time I would think it's not a lot is if we're looking at colonialist countries. So when we look at Belgium, France, the UK, etc., when I look at that number, I feel like it's small. But when you look at a country that doesn't have colonialist ties, I feel that I can see why that 4% can be a bit startling, especially when you're a resident in the country. I'm not going to be ignorant to that. But the public perception anyway is that it's a lot higher than 4% regardless. Now, in 1994, when apartheid ended, naturally, South Africans were expecting economic opportunity, jobs, better public service access, national identity and dignity and pride. You just come out of a period of being disenfranchised in your own land. However, till today, South Africa still faces some of the highest rates of unemployment, inequality, institutional corruption, and this is where we have the concept of scapegoating. Who do we blame? Something that's visible, a foreign accent, somebody who wasn't born here. When the promise of liberation doesn't fully deliver, what does a country become? The historical contradiction that is so interesting is that during apartheid, countries like Nigeria, Zambia, Tanzania, Mozambique, they provided sanctuary, education, diplomatic support, etc. for the Black liberation movement in South Africa. And it's the same immigrants from these countries that South Africans are telling to get out, get big, go big.
Cynthia, for it. Go.
Now, onto solutions. I mean, the first solution is obviously processing people's documentation and their immigration applications quicker. Economic reform, so creation of jobs for South African nationals as well as migrants. Rejecting anti-immigration scapegoating. Informing South Africans that the problem is not the 4%. Because when you kick that 4% out, guess what? Your unemployment rate is still going to be the same or even higher. The question isn't, should South Africa have immigration laws? The question is, what happens when economic pain turns into ethnic blame? Can a nation built on the principle of liberation and human dignity extend that same dignity to fellow Africans seeking refuge in their home? It's just food for thought.
Come closer, and let's talk. To my South Africans, in the social media, why are you explaining yourself? Why are you wasting your energy? Why are you wasting your energy explaining? It's like you want to buy people for them to understand you. Man, you don't owe anybody an explanation. You don't owe anybody an explanation. We that are staying here, that are staying in South Africa, we know what is going on here. I said there's no xenophobia attack on Ghanaians. I still maintain. You understand? There's no xenophobia attack on Ghanaians. It's undocumented Ghanaians who are scared, who are shaking that they want to go home. Those who are legally here, those who are legal, they are going out doing our business. And most of the people that you are even explaining yourself to, they are not even staying here in the South Africa that we are in. They are not staying in this country. They are outside. Lot of them have not even been here before. All what they hear is what they want to talk about. Videos. They don't know nothing. They don't know nothing about what is going on here. But they just want to run mad. They don't want to make noise. So why are you explaining yourself? Why are you bothering yourself? Why are you explaining? You don't owe anybody explanation here. After all, this is your country. This is your nation. And we that are here illegally, we that are here, we are here enjoying ourselves. Nobody have chased us. No police have chased us. No immigration has chased us. We have not been beaten. We have not been done anything. We are here doing our work, living our life here in South Africa. You know how many I've been here 14 good years? I've never. So stop explaining yourself. You don't owe anybody explanation. You don't, or those who are explaining yourself, those that are insulting you, those that are saying all sort of things, most of them, they are outside. They have not even been to this country before. They don't even know. They have not been here before. So stop explaining yourself. All the insult and this, just it out. We that are here, we know what is going on. We know this propaganda that is going on. But some of us will come out and say the truth. We will come out and something that is not true, we will come out and speak against it. You understand? When you go and talk, you tell the truth, you say you are being paid. Me, I'm being paid. If I'm being paid, would I be here? Would I be standing here? Say I'm married to a South African. Wait, married? The thing is, you fail to hear the truth. You fail to hear the truth. Now you see the chaos that is going on there. Now people, I don't want even to go there. Stop explaining yourself. You don't owe anybody explanation. This is your country. Enjoy it. If you don't want undocumented people, so be it. Let them go. Those who are documented, let them stay. God bless our homeland, Ghana, and God bless Africa.
I thought a Ghanaian national lost his life in South Africa. Or am I dreaming? Anyways, guys, thank you all for watching this video.